Hello and welcome to High Vibe Astrology. This is Jennifer, back with a video on the Virgo full moon lunar eclipse, drawn up for March 14, 2025 at 2:54 a.m. Eastern Time. Whether you're new or returning, thank you so much for joining me. And just a quick reminder, because I haven't explained this in a while, I read the chart drawn up for my own location as a microcosm for what's happening in the collective, and I do include the house meanings. The ancient mystery schools, and even the more contemporary Rudolf Steiner, believed that we should perceive the world through a more subjective lens. It's not about limiting our capacity to see the greater whole. It's simply a recognition that the whole exists in each part. So that's the philosophy I live by, and that's why I offer the perspective I do in these videos. If you haven't subscribed, I invite you to do so. Hit the like button and share these messages as you feel guided. And please feel free to comment or ask questions. These are all free and easy ways to support this channel. This Virgo full moon eclipse reminds me of the lyrics from one of my favorite John Denver songs, "The wings that fly us home." And the spirit fills the darkness of the heavens. It fills the endless yearning of the soul. It lives within a star too far to dream of. It lives within each part and is the whole. It's the fire and the wings that fly us home. I believe that there is a yearning in the collective soul of humanity for unity, for peace and prosperity. The Virgo full moon conjunct the South Node indicates that former perceptions, judgments, and hypercriticism directed at others or toward the self must all be surrendered to make space for the divine plan that is unfolding. We can never know all the ins and outs of the Creator's mysterious plan. We simply have to learn to trust it, despite all the details for which we cannot give account just yet. Pisces represents the ocean of energy in which we all swim, move, and live. And just like the vast ocean or the cosmos it mirrors, we know that the ocean is teeming with infinite varieties and species of life forms. We don't see those life forms on a daily basis, but we do know they exist. And even if we were marine biologists who study those life forms on a daily basis, we still wouldn't know everything there is to know about them or their life. The fact is that we can never know all things at all times. Only the Creator knows every detail of each part as well as the whole. And this is why I believe so strongly that it is the microcosm to which we need to turn our attention for our own management and mastery. We can only discern Spirit's guidance for ourselves in any given moment. And when we do our part, we can trust that what we are being guided to do through our connection to the divine must be for the greater good as well, because it comes directly from the Creator. What we can never do is attempt to manage what's happening in the collective or to manage other people in our world. That is guaranteed to fail every time. I know that from the human perspective, subjectivity may seem selfish, a me first or me only attitude. But from the spiritual perspective, subjectivity is the understanding that everything we do as individuals impacts the entire collective. It means that we have to clear the boulder from our own eye before we can try to remove the speck in someone else's. It means that before we take action or say something we might regret later on, we might want to pause and ask ourselves, would I take it well if this were being said or done to me right now? Subjectivity is fundamental to spirituality. Managing ourselves, minding our own business, is the work of self-mastery. And that is the message I see in this Virgo full moon lunar eclipse. The Virgo South Node, along with any challenging aspects to it, represents those energies that have become too stagnant, unchanging, and are creating a negative impact. The low vibe negative expression of Virgo is hypercriticism towards self or others. It also pertains to overall health, digestive well-being, health routines, and the daily job. So it's important to ask ourselves what habits have become detrimental to us or others at this point. Have I become habitually critical of myself or of my world? This is where we are having to relinquish former habits, routines, and judgments in order to fully make peace with the big picture, even if we cannot fully comprehend it or see all of the details. Because on the other side of this axis, the North Node and the Pisces stellium occupies the third house. And this is the subjective house, a very personal house. So what we're being shown, quite literally in astrological terms, is to let go of all those details regarding what we see, discern, and feel the need to criticize in the realm of the collective or world stage. We're being asked to suspend all judgment where that's concerned and pay more attention to our own immediate environment and our own cognitive processes or mindset. More importantly, in regard to that, the Pisces North Node reminds us that we have to come to terms with the fact that we simply cannot know everything at once. The details of any situation, and to whatever degree we believe in the Creator and practice faith, that is what is needed now. We can know what we know, but the rest we have to let go and leave to the Creator and our spiritual connection. And using our minds, which is third house, to imagine and imprint the spiritual canvas of our lives is what the Pisces North Node and stellium is calling us to do, so that we are feeding and nourishing our dreams and what we truly want to have happen. It's no accident either that Jupiter, the ancient ruler for Pisces and the ruler of this chart with Sag rising, is occupying the sixth house, the natural domain for Virgo. Here we have a repeat signature of the third ninth house axis because Gemini rules the third house, Jupiter is the patron of the ninth house, and it is expressed in the house of Virgo, this full moon energy. So this is describing a scenario in which our evolutionary direction and purpose requires us to ask a lot of questions while we suspend the need to draw conclusions just yet. Because Jupiter's symbol has that open crown, and the house it naturally governs has an open-ended or sky's the limit perspective. The Virgo South Node in the ninth is asking us to refrain from making any judgments at this time. Now, Mercury is the ancient ruler for Virgo, and it is also the dispositor for Jupiter in Gemini. Mercury is in Aries. As the me first sign of the zodiac, Aries represents the I am principle. So here we have a connection from the first house, I am, the body, and its appearance and identity, to the sixth house of health, how we manage our body and care for that connection of the body, mind, spirit, soul. But what I find even more interesting is a connection between the ancient South Node ruler, Mercury at 9 degrees of Aries, to Neptune at 29 degrees of Pisces. It's a 10-degree orb, so it is wide, but it is still a conjunction. This means that the ruler for the Virgo South Node is connecting to both the ancient and modern rulers of the Pisces North Node, Jupiter and Neptune. What this signifies is that we are being asked to blend and harmonize wise discernment with a healthy dose of questioning, Jupiter and Gemini, while simultaneously suspending our need to draw premature conclusions about anything that is going on right now. Pisces North Node, we have to exercise trust in the unknown, trust in the Creator's mysteries. Chiron is the modern ruler for Virgo, and it refers to what has been wounded and requires our focus and healing at this time. It is conjunct the IC, which is the point in the chart that governs our deep roots, that taproot connecting us to our ancestors, to our home, our mother figure, and the Great Mother. In Aries, it is the I Am principle. So not to be redundant, but this is the astrological message, again, that I see in this chart. The connection between Mars in Cancer and Chiron in Aries has been going on for a while because Mars went retrograde and spent more time in the sign of Cancer. In this chart, Mars forms an exact square to the IC as well, that sensitive point that connects us to our innermost emotions. This is exactly what we need to heal, our relationship to the Great Mother, who loves all life unconditionally. Now, I'm going to take a minute to put this lunar eclipse chart juxtaposed with the USA chart, because at the time of this lunar eclipse, the USA's Mars is receiving tension. First, we have Jupiter magnifying the Martian energy for confrontation and debate, because the USA's Mars is in the sign of Gemini. This is putting a magnifying glass on the issues that seem to divide us and cause controversy. Mars is also the focal point of a T-square formed by the nodes Sun, Moon, and Saturn. So the same axis is being emphasized, this third, ninth house energy, giving the USA a double whammy on the topic of subjective versus collective perspective. The Sun and conscious action has to balance out with the Moon's reactionary and defensive responses. Practicing awareness of the tendency to criticize others when they hold a different perspective than our own is what is being asked to be balanced with a more self-aware and conscious action. The Sun and Saturn in Pisces shine a light on those topics in much need of our discernment and questioning, while Saturn brings a reality check to the ways in which we've been bamboozled, represented by that Neptune in the ninth house in the USA's chart. So Neptune in the ninth receives an exact opposition from Saturn and conjunction from the Moon. In my view, this is a huge spiritual wake-up call. Saturn is giving our nation's soul a reality check insofar as us having endured a long history of deception. This pertains not only to the Virgo themes of health, medicine, and body-mind-spirit connection, but also the ninth house theme of worldview and the collective paradigm. So back to this lunar eclipse chart. Saturn conjunct the Sun, North Node, and Neptune wants us to give structure to the mastery that is the message of this eclipse season. A new structure for how we express mastery of our mind and spiritual perspective. Neptune is at the critical degree of Pisces, culminating and bringing to fullness the trust factor regarding the Creator's great mysteries. We can only know what we can know, and we have to let go of the rest. We have to trust. Neptune at this degree also intensifies the soul's longing for unity and communion with life, as expressed in the lyrics that I shared earlier from the John Denver song. Now, when Neptune moves into Aries on March 30th, there will be a massive spiritual rebirth impacting our subjective standpoint, that very I am principle that we've been talking about. There will be an initiation of the collective soul, represented by Neptune, into the personal microcosm, Aries, the I am principle. So next we have Venus retrograde in the sign of Aries. Venus is also the dispositor of Uranus and Taurus, occupying the fifth house of creative will, joy, and expression of the inner magical child. Uranus forms harmonious aspects to this lunar eclipse. It trines the South Node and Moon, while it sextiles the Sun, North Node, and Saturn. Uranus is the planet of liberation and humanity's forward evolution. So making those harmonious aspects to the Sun and Moon and nodes, Uranus is supporting a greater liberation for humanity, as well as our forward evolution in harmony with the Earth, with Uranus and Taurus. Venus is in Aries, and reflecting upon what this I am principle really means, it also is the ruler for our midheaven, and which is our calling in the world. So along with these supportive aspects from Uranus to the lunar eclipse, this all suggests that it is by doubling down on who we are and giving that our fullest expression and attention that we will naturally attract those relationships and resources we are needing at this time. Pluto in the first is transforming our identity and behavior, and it is reconstructing the I am principle to one that is more evolved in its service to humanity. And on the cusp of the second house, Pluto is also transforming our very values and our economic status and growth as well. Mars in Cancer in the seventh house is the energy of protecting our ancestry, being a warrior for the Divine Mother and our connection to our emotions, the home, and the emotional bonding in the house of others, those mirrors in our world. That's what the seventh house represents. So we can see that in this chart there is tension between this Mars and the degree of the IC, which I already talked about, that taproot of our ancestry and relationship to the Great Mother. It is our emotional nature that actually makes us and keeps us human. Without it, there can be no real and authentic connection with others. But first we have to heal our own emotional nature, and that begins with this taproot, focusing on our connection to our ancestors and the Great Mother, especially if the relationship with our biological mother was the source of any woundedness in the first place. And this brings me to Sedna, the final planet I'll talk about, because Sedna is the astrological symbol of the Great Mother. Her discovery is what brought forth the further discovery of all these KBOs. Her discovery was the first to break with the ancient Greco-Roman tradition in astrology. In the sign of Gemini, she is deeply transforming our way of communicating. There is and will continue to be a major death and rebirth within the media itself, not to mention a stretching of our own personal perspective to embrace the great cosmos beyond this earth. Our subjective reality is changing at an unprecedented rate. And to me, this epitomizes Joe Dispenza's work and one of his actual books, which is called Breaking the Habit of Being Yourself. So what I feel from this whole lunar eclipse season is that we are learning to break the habit of being ourselves, that default hypercritical mode, so that we can soften our judgments long enough to understand that we simply cannot know what we never learned. And we have to understand that there is so much more to every subject than meets the eye. Sedna in the fifth house echoes the energy that we see in her discovery chart, emphasizing that the inner magical child is what we need to heal, connect to, and also trust to guide us into the new golden age. We are leaving an ancient age of cruelty and slavery towards sentient beings and toward children, and this was the case in Sedna's own myth story. But we are moving into a new golden age where all sentient life is honored and held sacred. So that is what I have for you. I hope you'll stay tuned for the frequencies, and I look forward to being with you next time. Bye for now.